Hi, I'm Raihan and I love music, and I'm sure you do too. Music is one of the most entertaining and pleasing arts that ever exists till now, and it will be forever. The ancient humans actually discovered music by clapping their hands, if you did not know that, and that's a fun fact. And the ability to distinguish between rhythmic beats is actually present from when you're an infant. That means it's not a learned skill, however, it's innate. And you discovered music for the first time when you heard your mother sing you a lullaby to put you to sleep. Now, what we often don't notice here, even though it's a very common example, is the fact that the music is able to change the baby's emotions and is able to shut down its entire system, meaning put it to sleep. And that's a very key aspect of music that we often miss, and that is its ability to change our emotions by changing our hormonal balance in our brains. And that is only our first link, and that is the music emotion link. Now we move on to our second link, and that is the music memory link. And since language is discovered far after music, our brain has the tendency to link certain memories with music, which means that suppose it's the time you met your first love or you have a first party, the music that was playing in the background tends to linger around in your brain even if you have Alzheimer's or dementia. So that is our second link, and that is the music memory link. Now we move on to our third and final link, and that is the music with emotional intelligence. Now, emotional intelligence is our ability to control our emotions as well as the emotions of the people around us. And music plays an important role, and something that we often miss is that students in a music program actually perform better in academics than regular students. And this doesn't mean that you can try to learn an instrument the day before your exams and expect better grades, but it does mean that you'll perform better in language and like cognitive assessments. So now I will start with the medical applications of music that we often ignore, though they are very cheap. So now we go to square one, and that is music in emotion. Now here is a graph from an experiment which checked on how well children respond to music, as in whether it helps them to sleep or not. And now here is the graph that shows that the trials total without music have a higher count of restless behavior than the tests with music. And here this is like visual proof that music does in fact change the emotions and actually gives the parent an upper hand in putting the child to sleep. However, when we talk about music in emotion, we will come to more important things than maybe putting your child to sleep, because I feel like that's like just the beginning of your life. So when we talk about music in emotion in the medical field, we can start off with emotional disorders that are present in human beings, and the most common of them, depression and anxiety. Now, depression and anxiety is mainly caused due to the lack of dopamine in the brain, and like we all know, dopamine is the hormone that helps us to be happy. So what music does is, when you're listening to a song you like, whether it's a happy song, a sad song, or even a metal song, if it's a song that we like and enjoy, our brain produces more dopamine than it did 5 minutes ago before you were listening to that song. So that is our first link, and we can actually use that for the treatment of depression and anxiety patients, not just in the initial stages but throughout the entire treatment. And we can also use it for more serious cases like schizophrenia and autism, but not exactly for healing, but to have a kind of advantage over the patient, as in an emotional advantage which is necessary for the doctors to keep control of the emotion of the patient. And that is our first link in music. Now we move on to our second link, and that is the music memory link. Now, like I mentioned before, our brain has a tendency to link certain memories with music. That means even if you have forgotten the memory, the music tends to linger around in your brain, and if you listen to that specific song again, you are bound to remember that moment. Now, this is extremely important for patients who have Alzheimer's or dementia, because a research by BMC Neuroscience in 2008 had actually shown that listening to music that has an emotional significance can actually tap deep emotional recall, and which is extremely important for moving on with the treatment. And that is only our second link with music. Now we move on to our third and final link, and that is music with emotional intelligence. Now, emotional intelligence has 5 separate subtopics, and each subtopic is actually backed up heavily by use of music. For example, let's talk about motivation. Being a musician myself, I can tell you that when you see a musician who is better than you, you feel that you want to be as good as them. And this is different from jealousy, because you would not want to pull them down, but you want yourself to be up there and as good as them. And especially when we look at social skills as well, the music community is actually very active, and because there's so many songs releasing every day, the people interacting with each other in the music community is actually a very high number. And even when we look at the different subtopics of emotional intelligence like self-regulation, self-awareness or empathy, music actually backs it up heavily. Now, many people would say that emotional intelligence isn't directly linked with the medical field. However, it actually makes you complete in the sense that it can prevent a lot of the cases of depression and anxiety that we have to face now. And in the sense that music backs up emotional intelligence, and emotional intelligence makes you complete. And for sure, I can say that music makes me complete, and every day I strive to be a better musician. Thank you.